You are about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
And we're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So while we're in peak flu season, people always ask, well, how do I avoid the flu? Well, hand washing, try to keep your distance from somebody who's sick. If you were exposed to a household contact, you could maybe get on Tamiflu, which is an antiviral, or Xofluza. But interestingly, and not a shock, this is something we've spoken about before on the show, but there are studies saying you could also use vitamin D to help protect you against the flu. Now, I like to stand outside a little bit and get some natural vitamin D, but for those of us with low vitamin D, you probably want to get your vitamin D up. Now, this article comes out of the UK. This is from The Independent. And they say that lack of daylight hours in the UK is causing 1 in 6 people in the UK to be vitamin D deficient. I know we have a lot of people who are vitamin D deficient in America as well, not because of lack of sunlight, but it's because they just don't go outside. They play, on their video games or their Netflix or working from home, which is why you really got to get yourself outside. Vitamin D, they call the sunshine vitamin because it's made by the body using sunlight. But you could also get it in foods like oily fish, red meat, egg yolks. And so making sure that your vitamin D is balanced and where it needs to be can be very helpful. Vitamin D plays a big role in bone health, muscle health, and interestingly, a study from the University of Surrey found a correlation between vitamin D deficiency and the risk of hospital admissions for respiratory infection. Now, the study was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, and they said that those individuals with severe vitamin deficiency were more likely to be admitted to the hospital with respiratory conditions such as bronchitis and pneumonia. So we know that vitamin D can have some antibacterial and antiviral properties, and that can help reduce the risk of respiratory tract infections. But this research now, according to the study author, B. Bernot, lead author from the University of Surrey, said this research attaches hard data to support the theory. Despite its importance to our overall health, many people are deficient and do not meet the government's recommended intake of 10 micrograms of vitamin D per day. So what they did is they looked at 36,000 adults in the UK, looked at their vitamin D levels, and then if it affected the rate of hospital admissions. And you didn't really have a lot of data where there's people admitted in the hospital and then what their vitamin D level is. When we admit them to the hospital, we're addressing the respiratory issue, or are we checking everybody's vitamin D? But on those individuals who had a vitamin D test, then you could relate it. And I'm wondering if we're going to see more people check people's vitamin D in the hospital. And they found that those with a severe vitamin D level, concentration below 15 nanomoles, were 33% more likely to be admitted to a hospital with a respiratory infection and compared to people who had nice optimal levels of more than 75. I think my levels are 45 to 50, so I need to take some supplementation, and I've been trying to get a little bit more sun. It's tough because I have, had a history of pre-skin cancer, so I'm, trying to balance that, and I'm going to try to get some more sun this winter in the coming days because I really am deficient. But when I hear, these studies, so for example, when they say for every 10 nanomole per liter increase in vitamin D in the blood, the number of people admitted to the hospital for respiratory illness reduced by 4%. So you're looking at, okay, well, you need to, get on your vitamin D. But I'm also wondering if this is associative in that somebody who's not outside playing pickleball, outside going for a jog, outside exercising and golfing, and eating foods that fish and things like that will increase your vitamin D. Are those individuals more prone to health effects because they're indoors all the time? I mean, somebody, and unfortunately I have a lot of patients who will call up with maladies and I'm like, I'll say, look, when you go to the pharmacy, I don't leave the house. Well, And I'm like, but I'm calling you in a prescription. Oh, somebody goes to the pharmacy and does all my chores for me and errands for me. I go, when was the last time you left your house? And they're ambulatory. They go, since COVID. Well, those individuals are not going to be very healthy. If you're not outside, if you're not enjoying the sun, if you're not exercising, if you're not going out there, then you might not be the healthiest person. Now, some people could have low vitamin D because of parathyroid. Parathyroid is a gland behind your thyroid. And parathyroid disorders could cause bone fractures, high calcium levels, could cause mood disorders, kidney stones. And I don't think a lot of people get their parathyroid checked. We check thyroid, but I think there's a lot of individuals having parathyroid disease. So if your vitamin D is really low, ask for your parathyroid hormone to be checked. You're going to need vitamin D supplementation, but it's nice. It would be nice to see if you want to make sure you're not having another hormonal process that could be causing you to have bone thinning and osteoporosis and other issues. Low vitamin D has been linked to infection, linked to cancer, linked to bone loss. It's not good to be low in vitamin D. But I also don't want people prone to melanoma to be standing outside and getting sun and then getting melanoma. So I think there's a certain amount of sun exposure that will be advantageous. You need to talk to your medical provider about it. Plus, what a lot of dermatologists say is that the sunblock that you use will not necessarily interfere with your being able to make vitamin D. So if you use sunscreen and you're outside golfing, or I don't golf because it's too expensive, but you're outside, walking the dog, etc., you should still be able to get your vitamin D. But the moral to any of this is get outside, be active, get some fresh air, can't be stagnant. Another thing, too, the reason why respiratory infections are going up is when you're active, you take a bigger, deep breath, right? But when you're sitting on the couch, your lungs, like an accordion, are staying compressed on each other. Well, then infection gets in and it doesn't move. That's why if you, God forbid, sustain a rib fracture, we're pretty lenient as it pertains to the pain medications, because we want you to take a big, deep breath and get air moving, because stagnant air breeds disease. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shots Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shots Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. So South Carolina is battling a pretty large measles outbreak. And the outbreak has now reached a South Carolina college campus. Now, most college kids are vaccinated for measles. In fact, they have to show immunity. I don't know for that particular college, but I remember for my children, they had to show they were immune to MMR. They had to have their meningitis vaccine to go on campus. And then, actually, for a period of time, they mandated COVID vaccine. So my kids had to get the COVID vaccine so they could go to college. And then they withdrew that pretty quickly, the school. But South Carolina has this measles outbreak, and now it has reached Clemson University. The state's Department of Public Health confirmed that Clemson staff have a confirmed case of measles in an individual associated with the university. They say the individual has isolated per the Department of Public Health requirements, and DPH is conducting contact tracing with individuals who may have been exposed and outlining isolation and quarantine protocols. If somebody thinks they were exposed to somebody with the virus, they will be contacted, or if somebody might have been exposed to this person, they may get an email or they could contact officials. I think the outbreak is nearing now about, 600 cases around Spartanburg County. And some cases are travel-related exposures or close contacts with known cases. We do not have an identified source. They believe measles is circulating in the community. Are these individuals who have measles vaccinated already? Or is everyone unvaccinated? We don't have that data. We need it. I would like the media to tell us. It's not that difficult. I'm sure they have that data. Have you ever had the measles vaccine? Yes or no? Let me see your shot record. Everybody has to carry shot records these days. I'd like to know. Because we keep hearing, oh my gosh, look at what RFK Jr. is doing, and now we have a big measles outbreak. We're assuming that the majority of these individuals are non-vaccinated. Because if the measles vaccine works pretty well. But I need to know as a doctor, please put politics aside. Do we have a measles vaccine that is inadequate? Are individuals needing a booster? But I'm not hearing anybody want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about that because if a headline says vaccinated individuals are still getting measles, now that could support RFK Jr. and what he's saying about can we reevaluate what our vaccines are doing, if they're effective, what we should be recommending. So according to Dr. Jonathan Elks, over the last 7 to 9 days, we had upwards of over 200 new cases. He said that doubled just in the last week. Now, Elks is an emergency medicine physician at Prisma Health in Greenville, South Carolina. He said, we feel like we're really kind of staring over the edge, knowing that this is about to get a lot worse. Yeah, the more people who have it, the more people it can spread to. Nearly 98% of main campus Clemson students have provided proof of immunity, according to recent data from Student Health Services. So now I'm not saying 98% of the whole population of South Carolina is vaccinated, but if we do start to see an outbreak in Clemson, and the data is saying that 98% of them are vaccinated, please, for the love of God, tell us if any of these individuals that are coming down with measles are vaccinated. And I really believe that that information is being withheld from us. As you know, measles is highly contagious. According to CDC, if one person has it, up to 9 to 10 people could be infected, if not protected. You're contagious for 4 days before the rash even starts. And isolation of an actively infectious case lasts until 4 days after the onset of the rash. According to Fox News, dates of isolation are determined by the Department of Public Health. Quarantine for measles is reserved for exposed individuals with documented immunity and lasts for 21 days after the last exposure, according to DPH guidelines. Now, you'd also think that quarantine those without documented immunity. I wonder if that's a typo. They say if a person without documented emergency receives a dose of MMR vaccine within 72 hours after the last exposure, the person does not have to quarantine. The university also claims to have previously provided guidance to students, faculty, and staff regarding measles preparedness. So the resurgence of measles, and we've had measles outbreaks, every decade. That's nothing new. We got a little bit of information when there was the Disneyland outbreak that happened, I believe, was it 2012, around that time? And we found out that some of the individuals who had measles were vaccinated. Nobody really talked about that or investigated it, but I had told you on my show, really, maybe that suggests we need to look at, maybe we need a booster with the MMR. I mean, if we're having an outbreak, it's very easy to say, oh, these are all MAGA anti-vaxxers who didn't get vaccinated. Well, really? Please, I mean, let me know that. As a doctor, I'd like to know. But if any of these individuals were vaccinated, then you need to have a much different message. Rather than all this anti-RFK Jr. rhetoric, the media has a duty to tell the public, look, vaccinated people could be getting measles too. Please give us the data. I think I'm the only nationally syndicated medical show on radio with podcasts, but I would like to have this data so I could express and teach and prepare everybody that their MMR vaccine, might not be enough if there is a measles outbreak in your area. But if every single person was non-vaccinated, okay, let us know that too, so that we could then provide some reassurance and be cautiously optimistic that vaccinated people will not get measles. But look at what we had to do with pertussis. Now everybody needs a booster in middle school for pertussis. Why? Well, it didn't seem like the vaccine, there wasn't enough immunity. Now, what's also interesting is many colleges say if you show proof of immunity, you don't need to get vaccinated again. And you can do a blood test to see if you have antibodies to MMR, measles, mumps, rubella. It's a shame that they've always done that and allowed that, but when it came to COVID and saying, can I show you that I have COVID antibodies so I don't have to get the vaccine? No. We don't want to hear it. I'm like, come on, man, really? It's gotten so political. And people say, Dr. Daliah, I don't understand why you aren't speaking out against RFK Jr. I mean, he's messing up the whole vaccine protocol. He's not messing up the whole vaccine protocol. All vaccines are still going to be available. It's just there's going to be certain ones that are not necessarily going to be told as universally everybody has to get them. If you want them, they're there. Parents get to make a decision, and we're going to be studying it. And this is happening while we are looking at, the effect of one-day-olds getting a hepatitis vaccine. Now, with COVID, we spoke about that. Does every healthy 6-month-old need a COVID vaccine? I don't believe every healthy 6-month-old child needs a healthy COVID vaccine, especially if the artificial immunity it gives is short-lived. I think if somebody's high risk and the parents want it, they can have it. But does it need to be universally recommended? No. When it comes to hepatitis, I do think kids should be protected against hepatitis. I do not like hepatitis B. But does a one-day-old have to get it? Now, studies have shown the shot is safe at 1 day old if a baby only has 24 hours of their post-fetal immunity, that it's fine. But where this is coming from is when we have 1 in 36 individuals that fall on the autism spectrum, we have a lot of neurodevelopmental issues. We have kids that really struggle metabolically, physically. They're struggling as it pertains to academics. How do we not know, even though I believe vaccines are safe, but how do we not know that the quantity and is 100% safe and not later affecting something down the line? You can't interview a 1 day old. So, should we always be evaluating and ensuring that it's the safest thing possible? Yes, absolutely. Should we be recommending vaccines? Yes. We have the vaccines. They've been studied. They're safe. But in terms of no, parents don't get a choice, that's a concern. Now, the argument against that, people say as well, but Dr. Daliah, if parents have a choice, they'll say, no, don't stick anything into my child. Then they won't protect the child and the child will get polio and die. Well, that's what education is for. Polio is scary. If, God forbid, polio comes back, you could rest assured parents are going to be like, vaccinate my kid. But as this pertains to measles, we need to be transparent about who exactly is getting the measles. Is every single person unvaccinated? And then do we need to explain to people, look, unvaccinated people are getting measles and there could be some serious complications? Or do we have individuals vaccinated such that the vaccine might not be enough? That needs to be told and expressed. 1-877 Doc Dolly. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So I don't know if many of you have been following this case, but remember the Uvalde school shooting that happened, was it 2.5 years ago? It was on the last day of school. And multiple children dead as a result of the shooting. And one thing that had come out was that officers were on scene, but the suspect had time, and a lot of time, to continue to shoot and kill. And there's been all eyes on the officers and why they were told to not enter. I think one of the officers, his kid was in the classroom and he was not allowed to go in there. And so the current trial involved police officer Adrian Gonzalez. And after less than a day of deliberation, the jury has returned a verdict of not guilty in the trial of former Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District police officer. They went into deliberations yesterday around lunchtime in the Nueces County Courthouse. And following the verdict, you could see him give a hug to his defense attorney. And families of the victims were kind of stunned. They said, "We want justice for Jackie." There were two monsters on May 24th. One was the shooter, and the other was the monster that never went in. He couldn't have avoided this. And another family member was Cazares. Of Cazares was Jesse Rizzo, shared his frustrations, saying, "I respect the jury's decision, but what message does it send out there? That if you're an officer, you could stand by, stand down, stand idle, and not do anything and wait for everyone to be executed, killed, and slaughtered." So the case had to do with him being charged with 29 counts of child endangerment, with the prosecution claiming he failed to engage, distract, or delay the shooter, even after a witness told him about the description of the gunman. This trial had started on January 6th. Prosecution took until Tuesday morning to lay out their opening arguments. There was a brief rebuttal by the defense. From what I understand, the jury pretty quickly came to their verdict. And Gonzalez was apparently the first officer on the scene. The gunman had ended up shooting and killing 19 students and 2 teachers. During the trial and closing arguments, attorneys on both sides dissected the actions of Gonzalez and other responding officers and witnesses during the first few seconds. And a key witness for the prosecution was an instructional aide, Melody Flores. She testified that she told Gonzalez where the gunman was located before the perpetrator entered the school. The state pointed to her testimony as proof that Gonzalez could have taken action. So special prosecutor said Adrian Gonzalez had a duty to put the kids first. He failed to act after being aware the shots were fired. being told the general location of the gunman, having time to respond. The Denver defense attorneys showed doubt about their testimony, saying she was a forensic witness going through a traumatic event. She was unclear about a lot of things. There was reasonable doubt. And so they said if you have reasonable doubt that he was advised of the general location of the shooter, that's not guilty. Said the memory of those children, who I agree should be honored, is not honored by an injustice in their name. So, he would have faced 2 years in jail. But the questions still surround why the shooter had all that time, and why was there a delay in officers going in? And I understand in a hostage situation, there's a protocol, and I'm sure we'll try to get a guest to talk about that. But unfortunately, parents want to know why the police were out there. They were right behind the door. Why couldn't they have breached and gone in? And that's something that is going to be continued to be debated. But that case just came back with a verdict of not guilty. The latest case we have here in making news headlines is the leader of the Minnesota church service disruption. She has been arrested. Attorney General Pam Bondi has announced that an alleged leader of the rioters that breached a church service and continued to chant and disrupt the service while people were praying. She has been Nakima Levy Armstrong, according to Pam Bondi, allegedly played a key role in organizing the coordinated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. They said, we will share more updates as they become available. Listen loud and clear. We do not tolerate attacks, she says, on places of worship. So the Attorney General, according to the Hill, had previously warned of prosecuting protesters who disrupted a Sunday church service in the state's capital. She talked with Jonathan Parnell, the lead pastor of City's Church, who was interrupted by a group of demonstrators during a Sunday sermon. The protesters also accused another pastor of the church, David Easterwood, of being affiliated with ICE. And you're looking at these protesters that are stopping ICE agents from trying to pee and go to the bathroom, and I'm just a little confused about the. I'm not confused. I think we know what's going on, but if you look at the optics, right? If you are protesting and rioting, that you want the streets safe and clean from ICE, and you want the disruption out of there. Why would you want them to pee and poop on your street? Right? Let them go to the bathroom. If you are there because you want to protect innocent human beings, then why are you attacking individuals? I thought you were nonviolent. I thought it was about avoiding violence, avoiding, discrimination, avoiding, retribution, avoiding the messaging just doesn't. You could do a peaceful protest, saying, we want illegal immigrants who came in to still stay. You could protest that's what our First Amendment right to protect, but to go after and hurt and interrupt and impede and do a vehicular assault to try to kill an ICE agent, no. That's really against what you're supposed to be doing. And then you have people in a church who are obviously not out there assisting ICE. They're not opening the door or pointing to where a cartel member could be or a criminal could be. And from what I understand, DHS had listed some of the individuals and criminals they caught that were here, within our borders, that were pretty bad. And so you have individuals in a church that are not helping ICE. They're praying. They're praying. And to see rioters who then are going after individuals who aren't ICE. Now, their excuse was the pastors might have helped ICE, so that everybody has to suffer in that church. You're bringing up Gestapo and Nazi. That sounds more like that sort of behavior. Really? So anybody associated with anybody is now going to be behind the eight ball? Come on. Now, wouldn't you be happy that there are people praying He's obviously not helping ICE. If he's conducting a sermon, he's not out there, right, holding doors open and pointing to windows. So the messaging doesn't make sense. And from what we're being told, these are very, very well-trained, organized protesters that know how to, because there's some people going, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, man, yeah, no, this is bad. And they know how to chant. But these are individuals who have been trained on how to intervene with an arrest and to do physical blocking and to how to use your car as a weapon and use your vehicle as a weapon. Okay, not cool. And it's scary. It's really scary. And every time I hear somebody say, oh, yeah, they're Nazis, ICE is Nazis, please, for the love of God, don't be telling me that ICE agents are putting people in extermination camps, are experimenting on them, raping them. Come on. But, unfortunately, this is the messaging. And, if you aren't with us, you're against us. And you just trying to pray and not be a part of any of the chaos puts sightings on you and you're a target. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away. Hey guys, it's Dr. Dahlia. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
We're back. This is the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Don't ask me about crypto. I really don't know enough about it. I appreciate the questions, but one of our listeners wants to know what the hell is going on with crypto. We were told last year that Bitcoin would be at $225,000 a Bitcoin. So everybody bought some, including myself. And we're like, what? It didn't happen. Now Bitcoin is at 89,492. Yep, 491. 89,492. 89,491. And it's back up to 492. 89,484. Now went down again. So for those of us that were hoping that Bitcoin is what we could retire on, we can't. So for those of you grumpy like myself, now I never expected. I think Bitcoin, you had to get in really, really early. However, I did invest very little, just a little bit. One, because if the average Bitcoin is $89,491 a coin, oh, now it's $89,513. I don't have 89,400 or now 520. It keeps changing. Okay, I don't have 89 grand for one coin, and you don't get to hold the coin. I don't get to polish the coin. I don't get to stick the coin between my teeth. I don't get to put it on a mantle for display. So I bought a 0.000000297 sliver of a Bitcoin in hopes that it would someday go up. Now I'm still waiting. But for those of you going, okay, I need my Bitcoin to go up. Well, we are being told by Ripple CEO that the crypto markets will reach an all-time high this year. And BitGo is said to price their IPO at $18 per share and making their initial public offering. According to Bloomberg, you have, I guess, companies getting ready and poised that crypto is going to go up. Now, I don't know much about it, so please don't take my advice. But what I am learning is that other countries are going to be taking this on. See, Trump talked about it last year, and every time he talks about something, the stock market skyrockets. And so when he talked about crypto, we saw numbers go up really, really nicely. And they might have even gone up with Biden for a little bit to like $121,000 a Bitcoin. So the numbers were going up pretty nicely the last, maybe year or two. But then when nobody talks about it, people think, all right, well, let me make my money and run. For those people that invested, I think Saturday Night Live did something back in 2010 or 2012 where they had a skit where these women were talking about Bitcoin, and it was $20,000 a coin at the time. So if you bought, you probably made money. But see, here's the thing. Who has 20,000? I mean, you're only buying a sliver of a piece of that. So, for an investor like me that has maybe a $20 bill burning a hole in her pocket, I'm not going to make it that far. But investors that have a lot of money. So I look at crypto as being a rich man's game. Now, I might try and play around with a couple stocks and all that, but I just, did I buy Eli Lilly before the Manjaro craze? I had some Eli Lilly stock. I think I had 5. No, not 500. We're just talking 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stock. I don't have the money to do what these big rich investors do, or people come together, they put all their money in a pot, and then they use that money to buy things, and they probably do financially better. A lot of doctors do that, by the way. A lot of doctors find rich friends, and they all invest together. And then something goes wrong, and they all fight, and then nobody speaks to each other. I want to still be in touch with my doctor friends because I like to play the long game, and I want to know that somebody's not going to pull the plug. And I want one of my friends, although my friend said he'll kick the plug out of the wall himself. But, so I don't know. And I don't have rich friends. Most of my friends aren't rich. I don't get along with a lot of rich people. I like people that don't say, well, why don't we go to the Bourgeois restaurant and have some Don Perignon? I'd be like, I'll have water and maybe a salad. But if somebody's like, hey, let's go to Outback Steakhouse, there's a deal and I got a coupon. I'm like, you got a coupon? Or if somebody says, hey, Applebee's is 2 for $25, you want to split? Yeah. Okay, that's what I'm down for. And I'm really down for happy hour. There's a place called Flaming Fajitas where you could get a quesadilla, I think, for $6. That's where I like to go. So those are the friends I kind of hang out with. So, but for those of you who are thinking, I really, really need crypto to do what it needs to do. We're being told by Ripple CEO, and you guys might know more about the company Ripple. It's a blockchain company. It's according to Brad Garlinghouse. He says that interest in crypto from large financial institutions, all right, it's going to grow. And they say crypto is settling into a real nice opportunity to grow for the next 10 years. Though you guys take that for what it's worth. I don't follow a lot of the financial news because that's not my job. I have to follow the medical news. But Bitcoin hit 126,000 in October. Now it's 80. I'm not going to tell you because it just keeps changing every 2 seconds. But I do believe that it is going to go back up. And I do believe that other countries are going to start embracing this. We're going to see less cash currency and more. I mean, there's already some places where you can pay your rent in crypto. And something is worth whatever somebody else is willing to pay for it. So like when I was selling my medical antiques, because I have medical antiques and I didn't know, if they were worth anything. And people said, well, you got to come on to, actually a Pawn Stars producer said, come on to Pawn Stars and sell your items. I don't want to sell my items. They go, look, if there's something you don't mind parting with, I'm sure Rick Harrison would like to see it. We want you on the show. You could talk about medical antiques. Come on the show. And that's why I did so many Pawn Star episodes. We filmed 7 of them. I know 6 aired. I don't know about the 7th, but we filmed a lot of them. And I remember I told my husband, what do I charge for this? He's like, well, what is somebody willing to pay? It's only worth what somebody is willing to pay. So somebody like me who really, really likes tonsillotomes. In fact, after I sold the tonsillatome to Rick, I went and bought another one. I really wanted a tonsillatome, which is what they used in the Civil War to cut and remove tonsils, where they would scoop it up, they would fork it, and then like a guillotine chop it off, like a split second. And then they would gargle with alcohol or something and use something for the pain, although you could bleed to death. But it was a tonsillatome. And so, I was willing to spend whatever because I really wanted one. And so, if people feel like crypto is of value, it's so subjective, it's going to rise. If people think crypto is worthless, it's going to fall. And so all it takes is a few other countries saying, I really think this is worth something. And this is going to now replace our current currency. It's going to skyrocket. So I know financial advisors recommend to diversify your portfolio. Just like I think you should diversify your insurance. Make sure you have something for long-term and life and your health insurance, et cetera. Although hopefully it's not a crappy Obamacare plan. But, am I against crypto? I'm not. It just, please don't sell your house to buy crypto. Anytime there's a get rich quick sort of attitude, it always fails. Now, I know there's a lot of people getting kind of edgy. There was a woman who came up with a Dr. Pepper jingle. Good for her. I think she was on TikTok. She came up with a jingle. I love coming up with jingles. I've been doing this for years, coming up with jingles of things. I just don't think about going on TikTok and tagging people, but she did. And she was really smart to do it because it was a cute jingle for Dr. Pepper. And then Dr. Pepper ends up paying her $2 million for it and uses it in a commercial. So I understand everybody wants to get a big windfall and do that. Just caution and do your research. But am I optimistic about crypto? Yes, I am. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.